think everybody is still rolling through the food. I think we still have more food coming, if I'm not mistaken, so we should be good to go. Oh, it's here already. All right, fantastic. All right. Again, just want to thank everybody for showing up this morning. What an amazing day this is going to be. And when we talk about authority, we talk about how God has actually put his hand on people and has guided them and given them certain direction in their lives. And something that I'm just so amazed with is when you talk to some of the community leaders, and whether they be on the assembly borough, or the borough assembly, if they're a city councilman, or even the mayor, or even senators, it is awesome to know that God is in their lives. And we have men out there that are fighting for the right things, and we're so very, very grateful for all that. We also have another very, very important group of men and here today, and those are our pastors. And I'm going to let Rodney talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So anyway, again, we're so grateful that you're here this morning. You took your time out on a beautiful Saturday morning to get out here and let's spend some time together. I get the distinct honor of introducing a very, very close friend of mine, Rodney Gaskins. I met about 9 years ago. He came into a little store that I happen to be the manager of, and was asking for toilet paper of all crazy things. And that relationship has turned into a situation that has changed my life. And I'm going to tell you something, there's only 2 or 3 men in my life that I can actually call mentors. And Rodney happens to be one of them. He is so dear and close to my heart, and has absolutely allowed me to be transparent. He's allowed me to say and do things that I wouldn't have obviously done in public, but he's also pressed me. He's held me accountable, and he's done a lot of things for me that have absolutely changed my life, and I'm so grateful for that. So I'd like to bring to the stage Mr. Rodney Gaskins.
Good morning. Just checking. You know, I love these meetings. It's just amazing. You know, I wish that we could just take turns coming up to this platform and look out here. You know, just to look out in this crowd and see so many amazing people, you know, leaders in our community, just some powerful men of God. I wish that each of you could have the opportunity to stand right here and look out and see what I'm looking out and seeing. I just want to talk a little bit quickly about Crossmembers. You know, most of you, this is your 4th meeting with us, and some of you it's your first. But Crossmembers is about this. It's about Christian men coming together to glorify God. It's about breaking down these walls and these things that divide us. You know, if it's denominational walls, if it's race walls, class walls, political party walls, and it's just coming together and standing on the things that unite us. And that's the common bond that we have, and that's the shed blood of Jesus. You know, if you look around, you see these orange hats and these hoodies. You know, some of you, if you watch the video, it really explains this. You know, this came about in a vision that God gave me. That in the early 80s, when crack cocaine was really bad in D.C., there was a group of older people in my community. You know, they probably were in their 40s then. It was these older people in my community that they started wearing these orange, like hunter orange hats. And they would just stand out on the corners and just walk the neighborhood. And before you knew it, the drug dealers started to move out. The people that were coming in the neighborhoods to get drugs started not coming. The prostitutes moved away because these people that were standing out in these corners, walking these neighborhoods, they were respected people in our neighborhoods. And a lot of these drug dealers were their grandsons and their sons and their daughters. And these group of people didn't want to be seen by this group of people that they respected. So they moved on. So that's what Crossmembers is all about. And we want to stand out in our community. You know, it's hard to be missed wearing this. After one of these meetings, my church school had an auction. One, I think it was after the first meeting, and on my way home, I just dropped by there, and the principal looked at me, he's like, "Wow, Rodney, you're visible." I said, "Thank you." That was my intention, to be visible. And when we're identified in our community, we can make a difference. You know, I remember when I was in the military, it was a group of guys standing around like a group of guys do and just talking trash. And I came up, and the guy was just speaking, and then he cursed, and then he stopped. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Sergeant Gaskins." I said, "What are you sorry for?" He said, I don't curse around you. And then that showed me that being respected, I had an influence over them. And we have the opportunity to create an atmosphere everywhere we go. You know, there's two types of people. There's thermostats and there's thermometers. Thermostats set the temperature. Thermometers react to it. As Christian men in our community, we can set the temperature with our presence. And so we need to be identified. And before, we need to be unified. Because, you know, the world's watching us. They're watching us. And if we're sitting around slandering each other, we're no different. We need to be unified. And if we're identified and unified, then we have to walk dignified. Because if we stand out, we stand accountable also. You know, because it's hard to be in Walmart doing something stupid wearing this. You know, it's hard to, you know, I wouldn't wear this to go shoplifting. You know, it's hard to do stupid stuff wearing this. And so we held accountable. And when I wear this and you see me, you know who I am and who I stand for. And I know who you are and who you stand for. And we're united in that. And so if we're identified and unified and we have to walk dignified, then this movement will be multiplied. And if this movement is multiplied and we're identified and we have to walk dignified, then Christ will be glorified. And that's our goal. It's to glorify Christ in all we do. And you know, and I thought, imagine if we go to assembly meeting, you know, or a council meeting, and our officials look out and they see this. We have a lot of Christian leaders in our community that's in these positions, that's called to these positions. And I just thought, imagine if they look out and see 2 or 3 of these orange shirts or orange hats. They know they don't stand alone. You know, because often when you're standing up for God, you feel like you're the Lone Ranger. But imagine if they have to make these tough decisions and go against the grain. And the rest of the audience thinking, that's crazy. We understand when they take those tough stance for moral decisions, for standing up for Christ in these meetings. And often they feel like they're the only one there. But if we show up, they look out and they see a sea of orange. They know that they're not alone. So we need to support. And today, what we're going to do is honor our pastors. You know, this whole meeting today is about honoring those in our community that answered that call. And we want to support them. In 1 Thessalonians 5:12 through 13, it reads, Paul told the Thessalonians, "Now we ask you, brothers, to respect those who work hard among you and are over you in the Lord and who admonish you. Hold them in highest regard and love because of their work. Live in peace with each other." And that's what we want to do today. And I love the way Eugene Peterson puts it in the message. It says, paraphrase, "We ask you to honor those leaders who work hard for you, who have been given the responsibility to urge and guide you along in your obedience. Overwhelm them with appreciation and love. Get along among yourselves, each of you doing your part." So Paul is talking about honoring, overwhelming with appreciation, and getting along. You know, our goal for this event is to honor those pastors, those leaders in our churches. And you know, if you look around, you see some men with some bullseyes on their back. And I know that this is not the first time that they felt like that. You know, this is not the first time that they walked around with a target on their back. But I also want to say, each man here should have a target on his back. But pastors, this is what we want to assure you, that you will never have to worry about anyone ever hitting that target, because we have your back. We have your back. And that's what this is about. You know, I want the pastors to walk away from this meeting knowing that we understand. That we understand how difficult the job that you're called to. And I want each man to walk away from here this morning understanding the calling that the pastors have and ensure that we have their back. When I was meditating on this, I had this picture of the pastor standing out with his hands raised and have a man on each side of him holding his hands up. But the beautiful part, what I also saw, there was a single file line behind each man waiting their turn to hold the pastor's arms up. Waiting their turn. And that's what we want to leave here today, with that appreciation and that calling for us to honor them and to hold their hands up in the battle. And to take every opportunity that we can to support them. So today, we want to highlight that pastor's job description. You know, we want to extract parts of their job description and emphasize, and that's what our speakers are going to talk about. You know, and I thought about this. I thought about even the hiring process that we put pastors through is grueling. It's grueling. You know, and I found some historical notes from some pastoral search committees over the years and what they said about some of our biblical figures and why they weren't selected as pastor. First, Adam. It said, "We're sure about his walk with God, but he has a problem with his wife." Also, one reference called us and told us that we were told that him and his wife enjoy walking nude in the garden. So he wasn't selected. Say Noah. His former pastorate of 120 years had no converts. No one was saved. Also, he's prone to unrealistic building projects. Abraham moves around too much. He's too old. We were told he once tried to kill his son. Absolutely not a good candidate for our youth pastor. Joseph, a big thinker, but a braggart, is into dream interpretation, but also has a prison record. Moses, a modest and meek man, but poor communicator, has been known to blow his stack, act rashly, and strike things. Some say he left his early church over a murder charge. David was our front runner until we discovered he was accused of being a peeping Tom and had an affair. Solomon, great preacher, but too nonchalant. When asked specific questions, he kept stating, it's like chasing the wind. Also, our parsonage would never hold all his wives. Elijah, prone to depression and collapse under pressure. When asked how will he maintain our Feeding the Hungry ministry, he kept talking about ravens will help. Hosea, a tender and loving-hearted pastor, but our congregation could never handle his wife's occupation. Jeremiah, emotionally unstable, negative, always lamenting things. Strangely, everyone we talked to from his previous congregation told us about when he took a long trip to bury his underwear in a foreign bank river. Isaiah, too radical, not mainstream enough, claims to have seen angels in the church, has trouble with his language. Jonah, when we asked him how did he get into the ministry, he's told this story about how he refused God's call into the ministry and was forced to go in after being swallowed by a great fish and spit out on the shore. That's when we hung up. Amos, too backwoods and unpolished. However, with some seminary training, he might be okay, but has a hang-up against wealthy people. Might be a good fit for the rescue mission. John says he's a Baptist, but definitely doesn't dress like one. Has been known to sleep outdoors, has a weird diet, and antagonize other denominational leaders. Peter, too blue collar, has a bad temper, even been known to curse. We were told that he once publicly denied Christ. Paul, powerful CEO type of leader and fascinating preacher. However, short on tact, unforgiving with young ministers, harsh, and been known to preach all night. Timothy, just too young. Jesus, once his church grew to 5,000, but he managed to offend them all and it dwindled down to 12 people. Seldom stays in one place very long, and of course, he's single. So, you know, our pastors have a tough job, but it doesn't have to be as tough as it actually is, because we have the opportunity to take some off of them. We have the opportunity to take and ask them, how can I serve you? And so we have the opportunity to serve the servants, to support the shepherds. And that's what this is about. You know, so in putting this together, we want each man to walk out here with a greater understanding, a greater sense of purpose to support our shepherds, to serve our church in a new way. So ask God, how can you do that? How can you do that? Ask your pastors, how can you do that? Because that's our heart's desire, is to serve them. So God bless.